Without question, passenger loading and unloading are the most dangerous duties you will ever have as a school bus driver. Therefore, Unit 6 is the most important of all classroom training units. In this unit, you will learn about overall safety record of school buses, 23 Georgia school bus stop fatalities that occurred from 1995 to 2012, the requirements and recommendations for safe school bus stop locations, sharing the road with motorists, school bus danger zone, also about loading on the streets and highways, the driver's procedures, the student safe behaviors at the bus stop when loading, and also unloading on streets and highways, again, the driver's procedures and student safe behaviors. Loading and unloading at a cul-de-sac or at a turnaround. You're going to continue to learn about when not to use your 8-way lights. Unloading on school campuses, again, the driver procedures as well as student safe behaviors. Loading on school campuses in the afternoon, again, driver procedures and safe student behaviors. Keeping students safe by building effective relationships and interacting with parents at the bus stop. Let's talk about the safety of school buses when traveling on the road and when at school bus stops. When it comes to safety of a school bus, numerous studies have revealed that there is no safer way to transport a child than on a school bus. The National Highway Traffic Safety Administration has stated, American students are nearly 8 times safer riding in a school bus than with their own parents in cars. School buses are built to be safe. They provide passive protection to passengers through compartmentalizations, similar to an egg in a carton. Today's buses have high seat backs, high energy absorbing padded seats, closely spaced seating rows, and smooth interiors with no protruding objects. Other safety features include a high floor line, which causes most vehicles in a crash to impact beneath the bus, and buses are built like a tank to withstand impact and for the roof to withstand a rollover. Georgia's school buses move over 1 million students each morning and again each afternoon as they travel the equivalent of more than 30 trips around the earth daily. To put that in perspective, Georgia's school buses transport over 4.5 times as many passengers each school day as Delta Airlines. A fatal highway crashing involving a Georgia school bus passenger is an extremely rare event. Other than a direct hit by a train, there was only one highway on-board student fatality in the 17-year period from 1995 to 2012. Loading and unloading on the roadway are absolutely the most dangerous activities that you and your students will perform daily. Most school bus-related deaths and injuries occur at the school bus stop. There were 23 bus stop fatalities when compared to one onboard school bus student fatality during that same 17-year period from 1995 to 2012. Therefore, as a professional school bus driver, your greatest responsibility is to safeguard the students entrusted to your care as they wait for and get on and off your bus. Sadly, since 1995, over half the bus stop fatalities in Georgia were the results of students being struck by the school bus. In these accidents, there were errors by either or both the student and the school bus driver. In the remaining fatalities, the student was struck by the other vehicle. Unfortunately, vehicles on occasion will run the school bus stop arm. If students who ride our Georgia school buses are to be safe, emphasis must be placed on the required student and school bus driver safe behaviors when loading and unloading. When we look back at student bus stop fatalities from 1995 through 2012, 12 occurred when struck by a school bus. Most occurred in the afternoon. 10 of the 12 were killed by their own school bus, and 8 of those 10 were killed as they were exiting their bus in the afternoon. Let's take a look at how those 12 fatalities occurred. 12 were struck by the school bus, 7 by their own bus when crossing in the afternoon, 1 by their own bus when a book bag was caught in the door in the afternoon. One was chasing after their own bus when pulling away from the school bus in the PM. One by their own bus when boarding at a different stop in the morning. One by a passing bus at a bus stop in the morning. And one by a bus in a transportation department parking lot when getting off in the afternoon. 11 school bus stop fatalities took place when the student was struck by other motorists. Most took place in the morning. 4 of the 11 were possible willful motorist pass. 2 resulted from motorist error, and 5 resulted from students attempting to board at unscheduled stops. Once again, let's take a quick look at what led to these fatalities. 11 were struck by the other vehicle. 2 when crossing in front of a bus in the PM. 2 when crossing in front of the bus in the morning. 1 when boarding from the door side in the morning, and a vehicle from the front lost control while braking. 1 when exiting to the door side in the afternoon. The vehicle misapplied brakes and passed on the right. 2 when the students were chasing after the bus, crossing a multi-lane highway to board in the morning, and there was no stop arm out because the driver was not expecting the students. 1 when flagging the bus in the morning, and again the driver was not aware of the student coming and therefore did not have the stop sign out. 1 was crossing the highway in the morning before the bus arrived. And 1 was attempting to board at an unscheduled stop. Every year, the Kansas State Department of Education compiles the National School Bus Loading and Unloading Survey. During the 2010 school year, Georgia led the nation with 5 of the 13 national fatalities occurring in the state of Georgia. It is both significant and sad to note that in the survey for the 2011 school year, Georgia once again led the nation, with 2 of the 8 national fatalities occurring at our bus stops. During the 2012 school year, Georgia experienced 2 additional school bus stop fatalities. At this time, it is yet to be determined where we will rank nationally, but we will likely once again be among the national leaders. So there were 9 student fatalities that occurred at Georgia school bus stops in the 3-year period from 2009 through 2012.
Let's do a quick review of the 4 accidents involving a school bus. Wyatt Pilgrim was struck and killed by a passing school bus at his morning bus stop when he stepped into the road. Everett Johnson was struck and killed by his afternoon school bus as he tried to cross the road to his home. Courtney White was struck and killed by her morning school bus as she unexpectedly attempted to board at a different stop. Garrett Black was killed by a school bus on the transportation parking lot as he exited his afternoon bus. Now let's look at the 5 remaining accidents involving the other vehicle. Carla Campos was struck and killed as she was departing her afternoon bus when a driver steered their out-of-control vehicle to the right of the bus, striking Carla. Both Jonathan Martinez and Cassius Walker were struck and killed as they were crossing to board their morning bus. The driver who struck Jonathan stated they did not see the bus in the thick fog, and the driver who struck Cassius stated that he stepped into the road before the school bus stop arm came out. Brandy Hart was struck and killed as she was exiting her evening bus and trying to cross the road to her home. Connor Birch was struck and killed as he was attempting to board his morning bus at an unscheduled stop.
Okay, let's do some review of what we've discussed already about school bus fatalities. Where do most school bus-related student deaths and injuries occur? When loading and unloading at the school bus stop. Historically, what vehicle poses the greatest danger to students at the bus stop when loading and unloading? And the answer is the school bus itself. Continuing on, let's look at requirements and recommendations for school bus stop locations. Keeping your student riders safe begins with having safe bus stops.
Now let's talk about your duty when it comes to bus stop requirements. Bus stops need to be seen for at least 300 feet, a football field, in both directions. Motorists need time to see you and come to a stop. There must be room for students to safely wait off the road. You want them waiting 12 feet off the roadway, away from trees and other obstacles that could block a motorist's view of them. Bus stop requirements also regulate how many lanes of traffic a child can cross. Students should never cross more than 2 lanes. Additionally, a bus stop should not be located within 30 feet, a bus length, of a stop sign or traffic control signal. You want motorists to be able to see your 8 ways. You also don't want to confuse motorists who are at or who are approaching an intersection. Your stop sign is telling them to stop, but some other traffic signal might be telling them to do something else. Placement of bus stops should also allow the bus to be positioned fully in the far right lane to load and unload. This includes decel lanes at the entrance to apartments and subdivisions. All bus stops should allow you to stop the bus short of the bus stop so that your bus position dictates a student's walk path, where students are coming towards you or going away from you in your full direct view. Consult with your supervisor if you have concerns about the safety of a stop and offer suggestions to resolve any unsafe issues.
Bus stops should not be located directly within a cul-de-sac. Buses having to back while turning around in this area are a danger to students. It is recommended that stops be located no closer together than 1/10 of a mile. Supervisors, routing software, etc. may establish the location of school bus stops, but bus drivers will see and experience the real school bus stop. It is the duty of the bus driver to understand what is required for a safe bus stop and to communicate to the office when there is an issue. Let's discuss, illustrate, describe, and give examples of unsafe stops. Some of the things to look at would be whether or not there's 300 feet of visibility, whether or not students are crossing more than 2 lanes, whether or not there's sufficient room to wait safely off the roadway, whether or not you're stopping within 30 feet of an intersection controlled by a stop sign or a traffic signal, and whether or not the bus is positioned in the far right lane, and make sure that you're able to stop short of where the students are and keep them in direct view. And finally, make sure that you do not stop directly in a cul-de-sac. It's important that you understand our school district's bus stop and route change procedures. Understand that drivers should not change stops. If you are concerned about a stop, you need to see your supervisor, and do not make the change in the stop location until all the proper documentation is in place. Name 3 of the school bus stop requirements. A stop school bus should be seen for at least 300 feet. There should be sufficient room for students to stand 12 feet off the roadway. It should not be located within 30 feet of a stop sign or traffic light. Which of the following is not a school bus stop requirement? The stop should allow the bus driver to use the far right lane. The stop should allow the bus driver to stop short of the stop. The stop should be located directly in a cul-de-sac. See your supervisor if you are unsure about the safety of a stop. The one that is not a school bus stop requirement is stopping directly in a cul-de-sac. Again, we do not want you stopping directly in a cul-de-sac. What is the greatest number of lanes a student can cross when loading or unloading? Only 2 lanes. If students are to be safe, we need motorists to be focused and careful at our school bus stops. No motorist wants to cause injury or death to a child. They must know what to do on a 2-lane road, on a multi-lane road with a paved median, and on a divided highway with a barrier or with dirt, grass, etc. In most cases, all drivers are required to stop when meeting or overtaking a stopped school bus that has its red lights flashing and its stop arm extended when loading or unloading passengers. The only exception to this rule is when the highways are separated in a center by a dirt, grass, or concrete median. In this situation, only vehicles following or traveling alongside the school bus in the same direction must stop. A warning that a bus stop is about to take place will always be given with the amber 8-ways. Vehicles approaching the school bus from both the front and the rear should immediately slow down and prepare to stop. Motorists must pay special attention to children, be focused and exercise caution when in the vicinity of a school bus stop, as student riders can sometimes be unpredictable. It is important that you use the 8-ways properly to give advance notice in order to enable the motorist to know what is about to take place. Once the bus is fully stopped, the flashing red lights will activate and the stop arm will deploy. Vehicles must stop and should remain stopped until all loading students are aboard in the morning or all unloading passengers have cleared 12 feet off the roadway in the afternoon. Motorists should proceed with caution. Only after passengers have cleared the roadway, the stop arm is canceled and the flashing red lights are deactivated. Some review on the regulations for motorists. When does Georgia law require vehicles to stop when students are loading and unloading? On a 2-lane road. They are to stop from both the front and the rear. How about on a multi-lane road with a paved median? That is to say, there's painted lines for the median, and it's easy for a vehicle to cross over it. They, again, need to stop from both the front and the rear. On a multi-lane road with a dividing median, dirt, grass, or concrete, curb, or wall for a median. In other words, it's very difficult for a car to cross from one side to the other. In that case, they only have to stop from the rear. I'm going to show this video clip. When it's over, I want you to form your gut opinion on what went wrong at this West Virginia school bus stop.
Oh my God! They almost had me got.
Okay, what went wrong? Motorists disregarded the stop arm, but what about the school bus driver? And what about the student? My critical eye saw mistakes by everyone. At the end of this Unit 6, I'm going to show you the video clip again. If we've done our job, you'll be able to identify the school bus driver and student behaviors that form a safety net to protect students when motorists make mistakes. It is essential that both you and your students understand the school bus danger zone. In order for school bus drivers to safely load and unload students, they must recognize that there is a 12-foot area around a stopped school bus that is very dangerous. This is the area near the bus where the bus driver might not see students or where cars might be moving when student riders are getting on and off the school bus. Bus drivers must be totally focused and ensure proper execution of procedures anytime students are loading or unloading. Additionally, it is essential that bus drivers use both direct vision and properly adjusted mirrors to see students in the danger zone. Students must be taught the following about the danger zone.
Do you know that there is an area around the school bus that is very dangerous? This is an area near the bus where the bus driver might not see you or where cars might be moving when you're getting on and off the school bus. The danger zone is the 12-foot area that surrounds a stopped school bus, especially the most dangerous areas around both front tires, the front door, and the right rear tires. Stay away from those tires. It is very important that you're always able to see the driver when outside the school bus and that you're always aware of the 12-foot danger zone. You should never return to the school bus for something you left behind or dropped without getting the driver's attention. You should leave any object and move to a point outside of the danger zone. You should then get the driver's attention by putting your hands and arms above your head and waving. Wait for the driver to see you and give you instruction before returning to the bus or before picking anything up dropped near the bus. If you do not get the driver's attention, you should not attempt to retrieve the item. Additionally, you must know that there's always a danger of passing cars that do not stop like they should, and not just passing from the rear on the left, but from all directions on both the left and right side of the bus. Everyone must understand the danger zone and be alert and focused at the school bus stop.
Okay, let's do a review about the danger zone. Describe the school bus danger zone. It's the 12-foot area that surrounds a stopped school bus. It's the most dangerous area near both the front tires, the right rear tires, and the entrance door. And it's the area around the stopped bus on both the left and right where traffic is moving and when students are loading and unloading. What should students do when in the school bus danger zone? Leave the danger zone and get the bus driver's attention and the driver's direction on what to do if they drop something. Stay away from the front tires, entrance door area, and right rear tires when the driver might not be able to see them. Continuing with what students should do when in the school bus danger zone, they need to be sure that they can always see the school bus driver so the driver can see them. And finally, they need to be aware that passing cars do not always stop like they should. During the course of your training, we're going to take you out on a mirror grid. We're going to provide you with hands-on instructions using the actual school bus. We'll do that at a later time, but we're going to mark the danger zone around it and show you how you can see within the danger zone by proper utilization of your mirrors. There are required school bus driver duties that you must perform when loading students at school bus stops, and there are required safe student behaviors that you must teach your students while at the bus stop. When loading from the door side and when loading from across the street.
The stage is now set for performing your required duties as you load your students. When approaching a bus stop, you should apply the brakes early to light up the brake lights so that vehicles following will have a warning that you are about to stop. Activate your amber lights at least 200 feet in advance of the stop. And always activate the ambers, even if no one is present at the bus stop. A student might be out of your view, and they could appear at the last minute. For a safe stop, you need motorists alerted with your ambers that a bus stop is about to or could take place. Before you stop, you need to check your mirrors for traffic. After checking your mirrors, approach the stop with extreme care, keeping at least 12 feet of separation between you and the waiting students. If they rush the bus, stop as quickly as you safely can. If no one is present, you must always come to a full stop, open your door, and look for any late arriving students. Stop smoothly with your bus fully in the far right lane so no one can slip by on the right. And be sure to position the bus short of the stop so you keep students away from the danger zone and you see them coming towards you from the front of the bus. Once you are stopped, Georgia law instructs you to first set the parking brake, and second, for safety, you should place the transmission in neutral. Only after you have come to a complete stop, then open the service door to activate the red flashing lights. As you are loading students, continuously use both your direct vision and mirrors to identify any moving traffic. Counsel students not to move toward the bus until after the red lights are flashing and no vehicles are moving. For crossing students, establish eye contact and use your hand signal to cross them once all approaching traffic has stopped. Count and recount the students and make sure all who are waiting have safely boarded. It is only after all students are safely inside the bus should the lights, crossing gate, and stop arm be canceled by closing the door. Then, to prevent accidental bus movement, first, with your foot on the brake, put the gear shift in drive. And second, release the parking brake. The bus should not move forward until all mirrors are checked for students in the danger zone. A bus should never start to move until the door is closed so that the mirrors on the right show the area toward the back wheels. Even after the bus starts moving, check the mirrors again for late arriving students or anyone chasing after the bus. When possible, students should be seated before moving.
Additionally, it must be emphasized that running your route on schedule lets students know when to be at the school bus stop. When we look at historical data, we begin to realize just how dangerous unscheduled stops can be. They have accounted for over 25% of Georgia's student fatalities over the past 17 years. When there is an unscheduled stop, there is no longer the needed familiarity and normal safety routine for both students and the school bus driver. Unexpected arrival of students at the bus is a grave danger. Unscheduled stops also can sometimes cause a bus driver difficulty in the proper use of the 8-ways, stop arm, and crossing gate. No stop is safe without use of this equipment. Any vehicle that is stopped on the highway presents a great hazard. A stopped school bus with a load of students, students waiting at the bus stop, students loading and unloading the bus, as well as other vehicles on the roadway are all exposed to increased danger at this time. When approaching the bus stop and when loading students, school bus drivers must recognize that total focus is required as they execute their bus driver safety procedures. Never use a cell phone, two-way radio, or interior PA system when loading or unloading. Georgia Law 40-6-165 is targeted directly at school bus drivers. It directs that the driver of a school bus shall not use or operate a cellular telephone or two-way radio while loading or unloading passengers. Additionally, the driver of a school bus shall not use or operate a cellular telephone while the bus is in motion. It's important that you check with your district to understand any additional restrictions that may be placed on the use of a cell phone or a two-way radio. Positioning the bus stop short of the stop keeps students away from the danger zone and helps you see them coming towards you from the front of the bus with your direct vision. School districts should develop a specific type of hand signal that all drivers use to motion students when it's safe to cross the street in front of the bus. For most school districts, it's an open palm with the arm sweeping across the front of the windshield to motion the students to go ahead and cross. Okay, let's do some review here. Name some things a bus driver must do when loading students on the roadway. Always tap the brakes and activate the amber 8-ways 200 feet in advance of the stop, even if no one is present. Pull no closer than 12 feet to the waiting students. Pull into the far right lane or deceleration lane if there is one. Position the bus so that you see the students coming towards you. What do you do on your morning route if no student is present at the bus stop? Always activate the ambers at least 200 feet before the stop. Always come to a full stop, set the parking brake, shift into neutral, and activate the red 8-ways, which you would do by opening the door. Always look for late arriving students before pulling away. When do you activate the red 8-ways stop arm and crossing gate when loading? At every stop, even if you see no one. First, come to a complete stop, Set your parking brake and shift into neutral before you open your door to activate the lights. Is it permissible to talk on a two-way radio when loading and unloading? Never. After loading, when should you cancel the red 8-ways, stop arm, and crossing gate? After you've accounted for all the students, after all the students are safely on board, and after all the students are seated. In addition to executing your school bus driver duties, there must be equal focus on teaching and managing essential safe student behaviors as students wait for and board the bus. These actions will reduce the possibility of a school bus stop tragedy occurring in your school district. So without question, you are the most important piece in student safety training. School bus drivers have direct contact with students every day. You see and know what's happening at school bus stops, and you have a duty to teach and manage safe behaviors. One of your primary duties is to teach, reteach, reinforce, and enforce the same essential safe student behaviors taught in grades K through 8. You must also realize that you are the only teacher for your high schoolers. Throughout this loading and unloading unit, student safety training language will be directed at the student rider, just like what you'll be saying to your riders. In this loading segment, we will cover the high-priority student-safe behaviors for waiting at the school bus stop and for loading the school bus on the roadway. These behaviors must be taught, enforced, and reinforced by the school bus driver at every stop, each and every day. When students execute these behaviors, they act as a safety net that protects the student in the event that you or a motorist makes a mistake. These safe behaviors, when not followed, have resulted in student fatalities, injuries, and near misses in Georgia.
Let's talk about safety. Get up on time and arrive at the bus stop 5 minutes before the bus is scheduled to come. Go back home and get help or phone for assistance if you miss the bus. Get someone you know to take you to school. Never chase after the bus. Never walk to another bus stop. And tell your parents, never drive you to another bus stop. Your driver will not be expecting you, and you will be in grave danger when approaching the unsuspecting school bus driver. It is better to be late for school and be safe. Have all items in your book bag before you leave home so you don't drop anything. And wait in a safe place 12 feet away from traffic. If you have to cross the road to get on your school bus, wait until it arrives and let the driver use the stop arm and signals to help you cross.
In addition to safe bus stop behaviors discussed on the previous slide, be sure to keep electronic equipment packed away when preparing to board. Never use an electronic device or wear earbuds when boarding. You must be able to hear. Okay, for you drivers, let's understand the law regarding the use of cell phones, etc. Once upon a time, the law actually banned the use of devices, but it's simply not practical. So the law has been amended to allow the students to possess and use them as long as it doesn't interfere with the safe operation of the bus. Now let's understand that our radio equipment is going to be advanced enough that there's no way that the use of a cell phone is going to jam our communications. So it's really not going to interfere with it. The key here is to focus on the safe and appropriate use of it. And understand this is an issue that has to be dealt with in the schools as well. There are going to be certain situations where the use of it is going to be prohibited. But there are also going to be situations where the students will be allowed to use it. But even then, it has to be appropriate. They can't use their phones and tablets to watch pornography, etc., etc. So, what do we need to do? We need to make sure that when the students are using it, first of all, they probably shouldn't be making a phone call, because as they're talking in the phone, they're probably going to be talking loud, and that can create a distraction to the driver and add to the noise levels generally in the bus. If they're going to be texting, that's okay. We really don't know that. We really can't stop them from doing that. If they're going to be listening to music or watching videos or playing games, the volume should either be muted completely or they should be wearing earbuds so that, again, it's not creating a distraction for other students or the driver. It's important that whatever the students do, they hold on to their equipment themselves. They shouldn't be passing phones and stuff around because you run the risk that students who should not be seeing what's on that phone are going to end up seeing it. Remember, we got fifth graders with first graders, and what may be okay for a fifth grader to look at may not be acceptable to a first grader. Simply put, students should keep the possessions to themselves, use it only themselves instead of sharing it. If they're going to be listening to audio, they should wear earbuds. However, when boarding or departing the bus, they should put whatever program they're listening to on hold. They should remove at least one earbud so that they can hear what's going on and be able to follow the direction of that. Work with the school district, work with the schools. Let's make sure that we're not putting a ban in place that's really not enforceable. But we do want to make sure that the students understand that there is an appropriate way to use this and that there are inappropriate ways of doing it. We need to help define that for the students, and we need to enforce whatever rules we set up for them. When students execute the safe bus stop behaviors we've discussed, they act as a safety net that protects you in an event that you or a motorist makes a mistake. These safe behaviors, when not followed, have resulted in student fatalities, injuries, and near misses in Georgia. Remember what you as drivers need to teach the students about being at the school bus on time. They need to arrive 5 minutes before the bus is scheduled or expected to arrive. That way, if the bus is a minute or two early and the student is a minute or two late, the connection is made. Also, you need to teach the students what to do if they miss the bus, which is to return home and get help or phone for assistance if they miss the bus. Do not go chase the bus at a different stop.
Let's talk about how to get onto your school bus in the morning. We will start with the rules for how to load if you do not cross the road. You must stay on your side of the road until the bus arrives, at least 12 feet away from the edge of the road and 12 feet from where the bus will come to a stop. And wait for the bus to stop and for the door to open. No movement should take place towards the bus until you look to be sure all traffic has stopped. The stop arm is asking the cars to stop, but they may or may not stop. If a car is moving, you should not move forward until it has stopped. When it is okay, you must continue to look in both directions for moving cars while walking through the danger zone, straight towards the door. The driver should always be able to see you, and you should stay away from the front and rear bus tires and board the bus quickly. Always use the handrail for safety and go directly to a seat. You also need to understand that approaching vehicles are a danger, and the signal for danger is the continuous blowing of the bus horn. If the bus horn blows, you should look for dangerous vehicles and stay clear of the hazard. The hazard will likely be a moving car, so if you hear the bus horn, look to see where it is and get out of the way. If required to cross the road to board the bus, you must stay on your side of the road until the bus comes, at least 12 feet away from the edge of the road, and wait for the bus to stop and for the driver's signal for when it is safe to cross from where you are waiting. You should stop at the edge of the road and look both ways to be sure that any moving cars come to a stop. If a car is moving, you should not step into the road. When it is okay, you should then look both ways for moving cars while walking straight across the road. Cross 12 feet in front of the bus and make sure you can see the driver. Use the handrail for safety and go directly to a seat. Again, you must continue to look for moving cars. Be careful in the danger zone. Stay away from the front and rear bus tires and board the bus quickly.
Also, once seated, there are some important things you need to do. The most important is sit the safe way, facing forward with your back against the back of the seat and your bottom against the bottom of the seat. Be sure your bottom is not hanging off the seat. If there is not room for you in a seat, then sit somewhere else where there is room. Additionally, once seated, hold your book bag and belongings in your lap. Remember, the students should wait 12 feet off the road and wait for the bus to stop and for the driver's signal for when it is safe to cross from where they are standing. Make sure the students stop at the edge of the road and look both ways to be sure that any moving cars have come to a stop. Make sure that they look to be sure all cars have stopped before walking towards the bus, and that they should look for moving cars as they walk forward. Make sure that they can see the bus driver so that the bus driver can see them. Make sure that they leave any item, if dropped, and move to a point out of the 12-foot danger zone. They should not retrieve anything without first waving hands above their head and receiving instructions from the driver. And finally, school buses provide passive protection to passengers through compartmentalization. They have high seat bags, high energy absorbing padded seats, they're closely spaced seat rows, and they have smooth interiors with no protruding objects. The students are protected best when sitting fully within the seating compartment and facing forward. Let's review. What are some essential safe student behaviors when at the school bus stop? They need to arrive 5 minutes early. They need to have all items in the book bag to include electronics, earbuds, or headphones. They need to wait 12 feet off the roadway. They need to stay on their side of the road until the bus comes. They need to form an orderly line 12 feet from where the bus stops. The student misses the school bus in the morning. What should you teach them to never do? Chase after the bus, or go to another stop, or have the parents drive them to another stop. If students do not have to cross the road when loading, they should stay 12 feet off the road and wait for the bus to stop. Look to be sure all cars stop before moving forward. Look for moving cars as they walk forward and board the bus. Stay away from the front and rear tires. For students who do have to cross the road when loading, they should wait 12 feet off the road until the bus driver signals that it is safe to cross. Stop at the edge of the road and be sure all cars have stopped before entering the road. Look for moving cars. Cross 12 feet in front of the bus, and know that a continuous blowing of the school bus horn means that there is danger. Now let's take a look at how to safely unload students on the roadway. In this unloading segment, we will focus on both your school bus driver professional duties that you must execute and on your duty to provide student training on safe behaviors required for them to safely unload to the door side or to unload and cross the road.
Just like when loading the bus, when unloading, you will flash your brake lights to alert those behind you. Then activate the ambers at least 200 feet before the stop. While checking for traffic in the mirrors, you will come to a smooth stop in the far right lane of the roadway. Once again, it must be stressed that where you stop the bus determines the path students will walk when unloading. You want students walking away from the front of your bus, with you being able to easily see them. Once you are stopped, set your parking brake first, then place your gear shift in neutral. Crack your manual door to activate the flashing red lights, the stop arm, and the crossing gate. With automatic doors, you may not have the option of cracking your door. It will open. You must keep departing students safely on the bus, opening the manual door fully only when vehicles from both directions have stopped. With automatic doors, you will train your students that an open door does not mean it's safe to exit. They will exit only after you see all traffic stopped and you give the okay. Again, use your direct vision and your mirrors to check traffic to the front and from behind. And never allow a student down the steps if a vehicle is moving. For students who have to cross, move them as a group. Continue to use your mirrors and direct vision to check for approaching vehicles. You will establish eye contact with students both at the end of the crossing gate and again at the center of the road, giving 2 separate hand signals when it is safe for them to cross. Count all passengers as they leave, but especially those who must cross the road, and count them again as they move away from the bus. Your bus poses the greatest danger to your students. 8 of the last 26 Georgia student fatalities occurred when struck by their school bus as they were crossing in the afternoon. Never let distractions stop you from safely accounting for each child who exits. The flashing red lights, stop arm, and crossing gate must remain activated until all students have reached a safe place 12 feet off the road. Keep looking to make sure no children return near the bus as you close the door. With your foot on the brake, first put the gear shift in drive, then release the parking brake. There are a minimum of 4 mirrors that need to be checked for students before moving. The wide-angle mirror on the left cross view mirror, the right cross view mirror, and the wide-angle mirror on the right. Are you sure the last student down the steps didn't get a drawstring or other loose item caught in the handrail or door? Be sure to do one last check of the right side mirrors after you've closed the door to see if anyone is still near the bus. You should never permit a child to cross the road behind the bus or to get mail from their mailbox. You want them safely 12 feet off the roadway before pulling away. As you are leaving the stop, continue to check for anyone who might still be in the danger zone.
Some additional school bus driver unloading procedures include: position your bus in the far right lane so that no motorist can pass on the right. This includes deceleration lanes and turn lanes at the entrance to apartments, subdivisions, etc. Passengers are to remain seated until the bus has come to a complete stop. Drivers should instruct all students to pause at the bottom step and look to be sure that there is no moving traffic on that side of the school bus, especially to their right. If you see an approaching vehicle that is a danger to students, your warning signal is to immediately and continuously blow the bus horn. Your school bus is the greatest danger to the student riders. Historically, over 30% of student fatalities occurred when struck by their school bus as they were crossing in the afternoon. If you lose count or if you cannot account for all students, do not move the bus. If necessary, shut off the bus, secure it, and check underneath before moving the bus. Drivers should never use a cell phone, the two-way radio, interior PA system, or allow themselves to be distracted by addressing student concerns when unloading students. Never let distractions stop you from safely accounting for each child who exits. Your total focus must be on unloading the students. Here we just want to discuss the difference in technologies from one bus to another as far as how the door gets opened. Most buses now have automatic doors. You flick a switch and the door opens. Some of the older buses, and perhaps some new buses as well, are manually opened. There's a little bar on the right side, a switch that connects to a bar to the door that you would use to open it. With manual buses, you can just open the door just slightly, and that will activate the red 8-ways. If you've got a manual door, what you can do is open it slightly to activate the red loading lights, crossing gate, and stop sign. And you can hold the door practically closed until all the traffic is stopped. Once you're sure it's safe, you can open the door fully and allow the students to exit. With an automatic door, the door is either open or closed. And of course, when you open it, all of the safety equipment comes out. Some doors now have what is called a red override switch. If your bus is equipped with that, it enables you to keep the door closed but activate all your safety equipment first. So you turn on the red override switch, that deploys all the safety equipment. You can wait until all the traffic is stopped and then use the door switch to open the door and allow the students to safely exit. If you don't have a red override switch, be aware that you cannot activate all the safety equipment without completely opening the door first. So in that case, you have to train the students to stay on the bus until you say that it's okay to get off. Okay, so to understand what I've just talked about, it's important that you do not let the students down the steps if traffic is moving. Use your direct vision and your mirrors to check the traffic to the front and from behind, and never allow a student down the steps if a vehicle is still moving. The vehicle may not stop or could lose control while trying to stop. Make sure that you establish eye contact with crossing students both at the end of the crossing gate and again at the center of the road, giving 2 separate hand signals when it is safe for them to cross. Okay, some review questions. How can you protect students from approaching vehicles when unloading? Make sure all the vehicles are stopped before telling the students that it's okay to depart. Instruct the students to stop at the bottom step and look for moving vehicles before exiting. Make eye contact with the crossing students at both the end of the crossing gate and at the center of the road. Give 2 separate hand signals when it's safe to cross. Continuing with what you can do to protect the students from approaching vehicles when unloading, continuously blow your horn to warn students if you see any approaching vehicle that is in danger, and continue to use direct vision and mirrors to look for approaching vehicles. What can you do to be sure that you do not strike one of your students with your bus when unloading? Stop short of the bus stop so you see students walking away from the front of the bus with direct vision. Count the students and move them as a group. And as you're pulling away, continue to look for anyone who might have re-entered the danger zone. We will now cover the high priority student safe behaviors for unloading the school bus on the roadway. You must continuously teach and enforce and reinforce these behaviors at every stop, each and every day. You want your students' safe behaviors to act as a safety net to protect them from your mistakes or motorist mistakes. When these safe behaviors are not followed, student fatalities, injuries, and near misses have occurred in Georgia.
When you are riding the bus home, it is important to remain seated until the bus comes to a complete stop. Walk to the front of the bus in an orderly manner and wait in the aisle until the driver tells you it's okay to begin to exit. The driver is waiting for all cars to stop before letting you off the bus. Moving cars are a danger. Use the handrail when exiting the bus so you do not fall down. You should look for moving cars in all directions, especially to your right, before stepping off the bus. We know that approaching cars may not stop, so if you see a car moving, you must wait to be sure it stops. This student understands the importance of checking to make sure no vehicle is passing on the right side of the bus. They are making sure that no car is moving before they step off the bus. If you do not cross the road when you get off the bus and there are no moving cars and you have stepped off the bus, you must next look for cars in both directions. As you walk straight away from the bus in full view of the driver, you should keep walking until you are out of the danger zone, 12 feet away from the bus. Never get mail from a roadside mailbox until after the bus leaves. You need to get away from the road where cars might not stop and away from the bus before it starts to move. Remember, if the bus driver sees an approaching danger with either their direct vision or their mirrors, they will use their horn to signal danger. Remember that when riding the bus home, remain seated until the bus comes to a complete stop. Leave your seat in an orderly manner and wait in the aisle for the driver to tell you it's okay to begin to leave the bus. The driver will wait for all cars to stop before letting you off the bus. Always use the handrail when exiting the bus. If you have to cross the road when you get off the bus, you must once again look for cars in all directions before exiting. When it's okay, you should walk straight away from the right front of the bus into the driver's full view. You must exercise caution in the danger zone. When you get past the end of the bus crossing gate, you must stop and face the center of the road, look directly at the driver, and wait for the signal that it is safe to cross. Then, look for moving cars as you walk to the center of the road. Stop there and wait again for the driver's signal that it is safe to finish crossing. Then continue to look for cars to your left and right while walking quickly across and exiting 12 feet off the road. Never stop to get mail from the mailbox. If a car is coming and loses control, it might run off the road. Never cross behind the bus. Cross in front where it is safe and everyone can see you.
Over 30% of Georgia's student bus stop fatalities have historically resulted from a student in the danger zone being struck by their school bus in the afternoon. It is imperative that drivers position the bus so that students are in the driver's direct view when departing. Avoid any distractions and be totally focused. Count, recount, and account for every student who gets off the bus before proceeding to the next stop. And teach student riders to respect the danger zone. This includes not shortcutting too close to the crossing gate. We want them to be easily visible by the bus driver. Again, as we've talked about electronics before, it's important that any of the students put away their electronic equipment before standing to exit the bus. If they don't put it away completely, they should at least put whatever program they're listening to on pause, and they should remove at least one of their earbuds so that they can hear what they have to say. Keep the earbuds out of their ears and stay focused on the process of unloading until they're safely 12 feet off the roadway. They must be able to hear. The students need to be careful, and you need to be cautious about the students' book bags, drawstrings, purses, etc. There are cracks and crevices and places for things to get hung. Always be sure that the last student who has exited the bus is away from it. Every once in a while, you'll have a student who doesn't normally ride your bus who is getting on your bus in the afternoon. Make sure that you understand the district's policy for giving permission to students to ride different buses, or perhaps they ride your bus, but they're going to get off at a different stop for child care purposes to go home with a friend. In that case, be aware that these students have not necessarily been trained on what to do, especially at the particular new stop for them. So be conscious of them and be willing to take some time to give them extra training as they depart. Some review questions on unloading students. What are required student safe behaviors for unloading that you must teach all of your riders? Put away the electronic equipment, earbuds, and headphones before exiting the bus. Remain seated until the bus stops. Wait for the driver to okay before leaving the bus. Stay away from the front and rear bus tires. Continuing on with safe behaviors for all students who are unloading. Look for the moving cars in all directions, especially to the right before exiting the bus. Stay in full view of the bus driver and look for moving cars when walking away. If students have to cross the road after unloading, what must they do? Stop, make eye contact with the bus driver, and wait for the driver's signal that it is safe to cross. at both the end of the crossing gate and again at the center of the road. Look for moving cars to their left and right when walking across and exiting 12 feet off the road. Never cross behind the bus. Placement of bus stops at a turnaround is not recommended. However, you may have some of these stops assigned to your route. It is also common for school buses to use cul-de-sacs in neighborhoods to turn around. Let's look at how to handle turnarounds and cul-de-sacs on your bus route. Always look for an alternative to a turnaround at an intersection along the roadway. Can you travel a different path or use a parking lot to turn around? Avoid backing if at all possible. If you have no alternative, you should never back with students on the ground. At a turnaround on a roadway, students should be loaded before backing in the morning. It is important to never back with students on the ground because your vision to the rear of the bus is restricted, and it is possible that a student could be hit or run over. After loading students, you should then execute a backing maneuver into a driveway or intersecting street. It is recommended that backing be performed so you do not have to back out into traffic. When unloading students in the afternoon at a turnaround on the roadway, the driver should execute the turnaround backing maneuver before letting any student off the bus. The driver or local school system should get permission to use a private driveway. Travel within a cul-de-sac is very common, but placement of bus stops within the cul-de-sac should be avoided. Sometimes backing in a cul-de-sac is required if a bus stop is in the area. Students could be in danger. So to review, if traveling in a cul-de-sac, where should you avoid placing a bus stop? Within the cul-de-sac itself. If you have to back at a roadway bus stop, when loading, do you load or back first? Always load first. If you're unloading in the afternoon, do you unload or back first? You back first. If using a driveway to back, do you back into the driveway or do you back into traffic? Back into the driveway. Motorists must recognize that the use of 8-way lights on a school bus means a bus stop is taking place. The 8-way lights are not to be used on school property or while loading and unloading off the roadway, in driveways, while backing, while making turns or turnarounds, while stopping at railroad crossings, for fog or inclement weather when not loading or unloading students. Do not use your 8-ways to assist another bus driver who is loading or unloading, or to assist another driver to enter traffic, to assist non-bus passenger pedestrians in crossing the street. They should only be used to load and unload students on the roadway. Never confuse a motorist by improper use of the 8-way lights. Okay, when is it permissible to use your 8-way amber and red flashing lights? Only to pick up and unload students on the roadway. There are many pedestrian safety issues and vehicle traffic operations safety issues that are present on a school campus in the morning. Bus drivers must exercise great care when entering, parking, unloading, interacting with parent vehicles, and interacting with pedestrians on a school campus. If possible, parent traffic and bus traffic should be separated. Bus drivers should use caution in this very congested area and never exceed 5 miles an hour. Approach the unloading area carefully. Every effort should be made to route buses in a counterclockwise direction at the unloading point. This should be done so that the exit door will be on the right next to the school and the students will not have to cross through traffic or between vehicles. Buses should unload only in the designated areas in a single line and where, if possible, no other automobile traffic is present. If buses are dropping in line at the curb, it is recommended that they park so that in case of emergency, students can exit through the rear door without obstruction by another parked bus. A school staff member should supervise students as they exit the bus to ensure students enter the school in a direct and orderly manner. This person should have two-way communication with the school office. Make sure you set your parking brake and shift into neutral. Turn off the engine. Do not let the bus idle when unloading. Open the door and instruct students to use the handrail. If you require an administrator to assist with students, notify the bus duty school staff member supervising the unloading process who, if necessary, will notify the school office. The bus driver must never leave children unsupervised on the bus. Once the last students exit, make sure that all who went down the steps are clear of the bus. Get out of the seat and walk to the back of the bus looking for sleeping children, valuables left behind, and vandalism. Reassume your driving position. Buckle up, check the mirrors, and prepare to leave. Make a final check for stragglers before starting. Wait until the bus in front of you leaves, and then you may signal and leave. Do not pass a bus in the unloading zone unless you are directed to do so by a school administrator or by other school bus drivers, and then do so very carefully. Backing on school grounds should be avoided. If backing is necessary, have an administrator, teacher, or another school bus driver to assist you as a spotter. Make sure as you are exiting the school campus that you do so slowly and cautiously, watching for students and other hazards. Your speed should not exceed 5 miles an hour. Make sure you leave an adequate amount of space between you and the bus in front of you, and be prepared to make a quick stop. Stop before entering the roadway from the school campus. Carefully look for and yield to traffic. Hopefully before you ever enter onto a school campus, you'll have time to practice while the bus is empty and become familiar with it. Check with your supervisor about any unusual issues at any individual schools. There are many pedestrian safety issues and vehicle traffic operations safety concerns that are present at a school campus in the morning. Bus drivers must exercise great care when entering, parking, unloading, interacting with parent vehicles, and interacting with pedestrians on a school campus. You have to work hard to drive slow, again, not more than 5 miles an hour. Be patient if vehicles are restricting access. If unsure if a bus will fit, wait for the vehicle to move. Some review questions about unloading on the school campus in the morning. When on the school campus, what is the fastest speed you can ever drive? 5 miles an hour. When unloading at school in the morning, what are some important bus driver duties? Unload only in the designated area. Park so students can exit through the rear of the other buses. Get out of the seat and walk to the rear of the bus, checking for sleeping children, valuables, and vandalism. And make a final check for students near the bus before starting and rolling off. Now that you know what is required of you, what are the safe student behaviors that you must also teach, manage, and enforce that will protect students when unloading the bus at the school? These are the high priority student safe behaviors for unloading on the school. Anytime you are unloading, but especially when unloading at school, make sure that the book bag straps, purses, clothing, drawstrings, etc. do not get caught in the handrail or in the door. If this happens and your bus driver shuts this door and begins to move the bus, it could be dangerous. When you unload at school, if something is left on the bus or dropped near the bus, exit the danger zone and get the driver's attention before you return to the bus or attempt to pick up a dropped item. When your bus arrives at the school in the morning, remain seated until the bus is stopped and the door is opened. If you stand up while the bus is moving, you might fall. Do not push or shove, but wait your turn to get off the bus. Most bus drivers will want you to leave by each seat taking turns, going from front to back, side to side. Have everything inside your book bag. This reduces the possibility of dropping something near the bus, which creates an unsafe situation if you try to pick it up and the bus driver does not see you. Use the handrail for safety. A fall down the steps could hurt you. Walk, don't run, straight toward the school, away from the bus so your driver can see you. When you get off the bus at the school, keep walking until you get out of the danger zone, 12 feet away from the bus. When the bus starts to move, you want to be well away from the danger zone. Never run between parked cars and buses. Someone might not see you. Walk directly inside the school. Do not wait for friends. You can see them when you get inside. All right, students should have all their belongings inside their book bag before leaving the bus. This reduces the possibility of dropping something near the bus, which creates an unsafe situation where the driver might not see the student and begin to move the bus. Some review questions about student behaviors at unloading at the school in the morning. When students unload at the school in the morning, they should walk, don't run, straight towards the school. Stay away from the bus so that they can be seen. Keep walking until they get out of the danger zone, at least 12 feet away from the bus. Leave any dropped item and leave the danger zone. Get the bus driver's attention and wait for their direction. Okay, we've talked about unloading on the school campus in the morning. Let's talk about loading students on the school campus in the afternoon. All those pedestrian safety issues and vehicle traffic operation safety concerns increase in the afternoon, since all vehicular and pedestrian traffic occurs in about the same time frame. Bus drivers cannot be in a hurry or become distracted during this critical time. If possible, parent traffic and bus traffic should be separated. Bus drivers must use caution in very congested area and never exceed 5 miles an hour. Approach the loading area carefully. When possible, you should arrive at the school and be positioned at the loading area before school is dismissed. Approach the loading area 2 to 3 miles an hour. If students are at the loading area when the bus arrives, extreme caution must be used. Park only and load only in the designated bus loading area. If you arrive late, some schools will want bus duty supervisory staff member to direct your bus to the loading zone. Each school must provide adequate supervision of students as they are loading buses. There must be staff members positioned in a manner that provides immediate supervision in case of an emergency or in case of the need for preventative intervention in order to ensure student safety. If possible, those supervising bus loading should have two-way radio communication. It is recommended that buses are parked so that in case of an emergency, students can exit through the rear door without obstruction by another parked bus. Set the parking brake and shift to neutral. Turn off the engine. Do not let the bus idle while loading. If you have just completed delivering a load of afternoon students from another school, get out of the seat when you arrive and walk to the back of the bus looking for sleeping children, valuables left behind, and vandalism. Remove the ignition key if leaving the bus. If you do leave, be sure you are back before the first student arrives. The driver should be on the bus or at the entrance of the bus before students begin boarding. You should be able to identify all of the students that enter your bus. If not, question why the student is on your bus. Instruct the students to board in an orderly fashion, to use the handrail, and to be seated immediately after boarding. Assume your driving position, buckle up, check mirrors, and prepare to leave. Make a final check for stragglers before starting. If students on your bus are disorderly, do not depart until you gain control. If you require an administrator to assist with students, notify the bus duty school staff member supervising the loading process, who, in turn, will notify the school office. The bus driver must never leave children unsupervised on the bus. The school official is responsible for maintaining an orderly loading process. When students are loaded and bus doors are closed, supervisory school staff members must clear bus lanes of all students before buses proceed to exit the campus. One school official should be stationed in front of the buses. This person should communicate with those clearing the bus lanes and motion to the lead bus driver when it is safe to exit the campus. Bus drivers are not to move until this person gives the signal. If there are late buses or second load buses coming into the school, school officials must supervise students to ensure the bus is completely stopped and the doors open before students are allowed to move toward the bus. Wait until the bus in front of you leaves, and then you may signal and leave. Do not pass a bus in a loading zone unless you are directed to do so by a school administrator or by the driver. Backing on school grounds should be avoided. If backing is necessary, have an administrator, teacher, or another school bus driver to assist you as a spotter. If you pass a bus or if you back into the loading area, then do so very carefully. Make sure as you are exiting the school you do so slowly and cautiously, watching for students and other hazards. Never exceed 5 miles an hour. Make sure you leave adequate amount of space between you and the bus in front of you and be prepared to make a quick stop. Stop before entering the roadway from the school campus. Carefully look for and yield to traffic. Avoid any distractions. Again, not all schools are laid out the same. Hopefully before you actually have to transport students away in the afternoon, you'll have had a chance to visit with the empty bus, become familiar with the layout of the school and the peculiarities of that school loading zone and departure procedures. Most schools will have a school official out there that will tell you when it is okay to depart in the afternoon. Ideally, a school official will be stationed in the front of the buses. This person should communicate with those clearing the bus lanes and motion to the lead bus driver when it is safe to exit the campus. Bus drivers are not to move until that person gives the signal. Review questions. When loading at the school in the afternoon, what are some important bus driver duties? Turn off the engine. No idling while loading. By the way, that is federal environmental law that there should be no idling of buses on a campus in the morning or the afternoon. Park so that students can exit through the rear door. If you just delivered a load, get out of the seat, walk to the back looking for sleeping students, valuables, and vandalism. Be on the bus or at the entrance door before students board. Continuing with the driver's duties of loading at the school in the afternoon, if students are disorderly, don't depart until you gain control. Ask a staff person on the bus duty for help if needed. Never leave students unattended. Make a final check for stragglers before pulling away. Let's now shift to your role in teaching and the managing of the safe behaviors of students while they load and unload at the school campus. This is critical to their safety. Just like the execution of safe behaviors at bus stops, what students do when getting on and off the bus at the school can act as a safety net that protects them. These are the students' safe behaviors you must teach for loading on the school campus. When school ends in the afternoon, have all belongings inside your book bag before leaving the classroom. This reduces the possibility of dropping something near the bus, which creates an unsafe situation where the driver may not see you and begin to move the bus. If you drop or forget something on the bus, remember that if you don't see the driver doesn't see you. Wait until you see the driver, then put your hands above your head and wave them to get the driver's attention. Do not try to get the item if you do not get the attention of the driver first. The item can be replaced. You can't be replaced. Never chase after a moving bus. Once the buses start moving, you should stop moving. It is better to miss the bus and be safe. As you are going to get on the bus, walk slowly towards the bus. Never run. Walk straight towards the bus door and be sure your driver can see you. Stay away from the front and rear bus tires and board the bus without delay. Load in an orderly manner. Make sure it is the right bus. If you get on the wrong bus by mistake, tell the driver. We don't want you to get lost. When getting on the bus at the school, use the handrail for safety. Go directly to your seat so that others can be seated. Do not do what these students are doing in the photo. Never place your head, arms, or any other object out of the window. The bus could start to move and drive close to something, and you could get hit. Students must know to never chase after a moving bus. Once the bus starts moving, students should stop moving. If the bus driver does not teach them, they could be in jeopardy. What are some important student-safe behaviors when loading at school? Have item inside the book bag. Walk, don't run. Make sure your driver sees you. Walk straight toward the bus. Stay away from front and rear tires. If you get on the wrong bus, tell the driver. Never place arms or head outside the window. Never chase after the bus. So let's view this West Virginia video one more time. Here's what we know. 3 cars run the stop arm. Statistically, experts tell us that enforcement and motorist education public awareness campaigns can cut those violations in half at best. That places a tremendous responsibility on us to be sure that the school bus driver and the student are exercising safe behaviors that provide a safety net. Look carefully and let's recognize the missing safe behaviors for both the school bus driver and the student in this near miss. Here's what we saw. The ambers were used. That's good. And the stop arm was extended. That's good. When the driver let the student off, the traffic was still moving. That's a bad move. The student failed to look for moving traffic. The student failed to stop, look, and wait for the driver to signal at the end of the crossing gate. The student failed to stop, look, and wait for the driver's signal at the center of the road. And the student failed to respond to the driver blowing his horn. So how do you get the student in the video we just viewed to do the things necessary to keep from being hurt or killed at the school bus stop? As a school bus driver, one of the most important duties you have is to teach and persuade students that execution of desired safe behavior at school bus stops is essential. You have now learned what students are to do at the school bus stop when loading and unloading. So the big question becomes, how do you get them to cooperate and carry out these essential required behaviors so they remain safe? Some school bus drivers might think, I'm the authority figure on the bus and all I have to do is tell students what they do and they're going to all obey. There will certainly be times on your bus when your use of authority is necessary, but required safe student behaviors at the bus stops can best be achieved through the building of a relationship of trust and respect with them. Understanding and using proven interpersonal skills with your students can dramatically increase your chances of success in achieving safe student behaviors at the school bus stops. Building effective relationships includes everything from communication and listening skills to attitude, body language, tone of voice, and how you present yourself to others. Use these simple guiding principles in building a good relationship with student riders so they willfully comply with your safety instruction. Your goal is compliance because they respect and listen to you and want to do the safest thing, not just because you told them to do something. Put on a happy face, smile often, and have an upbeat attitude. When you're having a bad day, don't pull others down with you. Show that you care. When it comes to praise, do not hold back. If a student has done something you appreciate, no matter how small, thank them for it. Identify at least one trait you value in each of your student riders and let them know about it. By showing others how much you care about them, you'll encourage them to do the same in return and give you their best. Show your genuine interest. Get to know your students' names and get to know them personally as well. Recognize events in their days, from a birthday to a band performance to a ball game. If possible, look them in the eye when you speak to them. Be an active listener. Being an active listener shows that you intend to both hear and recognize a student's view. Using your own words, repeat what the speaker has said. By doing this, you will know that you have processed their words, and they will realize that your answers have been genuinely thought out. Everyone will feel more connected to you, knowing that you are an active listener, and you will develop a better understanding of them. Promote fairness and consistency. Help to create and promote a consistent and cooperative environment on your school bus. Show fairness to everyone. One person's opinion is not more important than another's. What is right today is right tomorrow. If you follow this advice, your students will come to identify you as someone to be trusted. Settle disputes. You want to become the person someone can turn to when disputes arise on your bus. Identify and resolve conflict. Not only will your bus be a happier and safer place, but you will come to be known as the leader. Be a great communicator. In addition to being an active listener, you need to be a great communicator. Do not blurt out the first thing that comes to mind. Instead, think carefully about the words you use so you communicate clearly and there will be no confusion. If you have a tendency to speak out any ill-considered thought that crosses your mind, people will not put great value in what you have to say. Make them laugh. Do not take yourself too seriously. If you have a great sense of humor, use it, as long as you avoid inappropriate jokes and do not make light of a serious situation. Humor can be a great way to break down barriers and get others on board with what you need them to do. Put yourself in their shoes. A compassionate person can understand how another person feels, and compassion is an important quality when working with others. Always consider circumstances from another person's viewpoint. What may seem like the obvious correct answer to you could have entirely different implications when seen from another perspective. Don't be a grumpy whiner. If you are known as being grumpy and a complainer, your negativity can push others away from you. Be professional and in the moment. The job at hand is a job of focus. Some school bus drivers might think, I'm the authority figure on the bus, and all I have to do is tell students what to do and they will obey. There will certainly be times on your bus when your use of authority is necessary, but required student-safe behaviors at bus stops can best be achieved through the building of a relationship of trust and respect with them. Build effective relationships with student riders so that they will willfully comply with your safety instruction. Your goal is compliance because they respect and listen to you and want to do the safest thing, not just obeying what you instruct them to do. If you win over the student, then the parent will be on board as well. What is the best way for you to get students to carry out safe behaviors that keep them safe at the bus stop and when loading and unloading? Build a relationship of respect and trust. What are some things you can do to build an effective relationship to keep students safe? Be pleasant, not grumpy. Find good things they do and praise. Get to know their names and show an interest. Listen to what they have to say. Promote fairness and consistency. Identify and resolve conflict on the bus. Put yourself in their shoes and have a sense of humor. Communicate and build a relationship with your parents from the onset of the school year and get them to partner with you in what their student riders should be doing. Parents will be tempted to talk with you at the bus stop. They may want to talk about a concern, a request, or just to exchange pleasantries. The effect is the same. Conversation at bus stop can distract you from the most important job you have, focusing on students as they load and unload. You have two necessary outcomes when communicating with a parent at a bus stop. The first thing you want to do is not allow yourself to become distracted by the parent. Take care of the students. who are loading or unloading first, and then shift your attention to the parent. If this is something that can be resolved quickly at the bus stop, then do so and safely proceed. If resolution requires more time than you have while stopped on the roadway, you want to quickly communicate. Acknowledge concerns by saying things like, "If I understand correctly, you are concerned about." If you determine that the concern is valid, it is appropriate to say, "I can certainly understand why you feel the way you do." Share that you understand their concern is important. "I know that this is important to you." And then convey that you want to properly address the concern, saying something like, "And I want to give it the attention it deserves." Refer them to the appropriate resource for resolution. You'd say something like, "But I need to continue on my route. It is best for you to contact the school or transportation department so that they can take as much time as is needed to properly address your concern. I'm sorry, but I must continue on my route." The second thing you want to do is, if the situation is tense or the parent is angry, conduct yourself in a manner that will reduce the tension. Stay calm. Calm is strength and anger is weakness. Calmness decreases anger. Anger increases anger. Listen to what they are saying, not how they are saying it. Resist interrupting unless you see that the concern cannot be resolved while at the bus stop. Never interrupt so that you can make a point. This is easy to say, but difficult to do. Resist being defensive. Restate the concern factually so that the parent knows that you understand the issue. Avoid immediate explanations. They can be perceived as arguing or escaping the issue that the person is concerned about. Putting some time between the request and your response will assure the parent that you have fully considered the matter. Show respect for the individual. They are partners in the process and deserve to have their concerns addressed. After all, it is their child. If you treat people with respect, they often will treat you the same way. If faced with an unauthorized individual attempting to board your school bus, you should always advise them that the minor children are present and ask the person disrupting the operation of the bus to please leave, not to enter the bus. For assurance that enforcement can be administered under Georgia Law 20-2-1182, instructing the individual that minor children are present and to not board or to leave your school bus could make a difference when it comes to a judgment against the individual. According to the law, disrupting a public school penalty, it shall be unlawful for any person to disrupt or interfere with the operation of any public school bus, or public school bus stop as designated by the local school boards of education. Any person violating the code section shall be guilty of a misdemeanor of a high and aggravated nature. Furthermore, persons other than students who insult or abuse school teachers in the presence of pupils may be ordered to leave school premises. Any parent, guardian, or person other than a student at the public school in question who has been advised that minor children are present and who continues to upbraid, insult, or abuse any public school teacher, public school administrator, or public school bus driver in the presence and hearing of a pupil while on the presence of any public school or public school bus may be ordered by any of the above designated school personnel to leave the school premises or bus, and upon failure to do so, such person shall be guilty of a misdemeanor, and upon conviction thereof shall be punished by a fine not to exceed $500. How do you provide contact information to the parent? You might have a 3x5 index card with the contact information, a supervisor's business card, a director's business card, etc. What would be the best ways for the parents to communicate with school officials? One would be to give a written note to the driver. Otherwise, send emails to school officials or transportation department personnel, and of course they can always make phone calls. You do not want to allow yourself to become distracted by the parent. Your focus must be on loading and unloading. They may want to talk about a concern, a request, or just to exchange pleasantries. Don't become distracted. It is inappropriate for a parent to attempt to board your school bus. If the situation is tense or the parent is angry, conduct yourself in a manner that will reduce the tension. Stay calm, resist interrupting, resist being defensive, show respect. What are the two most important things you must do when dealing with parents at a school bus stop? Do not allow yourself to become distracted by the parent when you are loading or unloading. If the parent is angry, conduct yourself so tension is reduced. If an individual who is not authorized attempts to board your bus, you should advise them that the minor children are present, ask them to not enter the bus, or ask them to please leave the bus. Summary of Unit 6. We have learned about overall safety record of school buses, the 23 Georgia school bus stop fatalities that occurred from 1995 to 2012, requirements and recommendations for safe school bus stop locations, sharing the road with motorists, the school bus danger zone. We have learned about loading on streets and highways, both the driver procedures and the student safe behaviors at the bus stop and when loading. We've talked about unloading on streets and highways, again, driver procedures and student safe behaviors. Loading and unloading in a cul-de-sac or at a turnaround. When not to use your 8-way lights. Unloading on school campuses, again, the driver procedures and student safe behaviors. Loading on school campuses. Building effective relationships with students, that gets them to comply with required safe behaviors, and interacting with parents at the school bus stop. As a professional school bus driver, your greatest duty is to safeguard the students entrusted to your care as they wait for and get on and off your bus. Your behavior and actions must always be focused on the safety of this precious cargo. They are counting on you.